can we become true vessels of power, love, and wisdom? Yes, if you've ever wondered how geometry can illuminate your inner life and awaken higher states of consciousness, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Naïka, your host, and welcome to episode 14 of Towards a Solar Civilization, sharing the teaching of Omraam Mikhaël Aïvanhov. Today, we continue our journey into the symbolic language of sacred geometry. This is part 2 of our sacred geometry exploration, where Alex will guide us through the profound mysteries of Solomon's seal, true marriage, and the Sacred Trinity. Together, we will see how these figures are not abstract symbols, but living maps of reality. Over to you, Alex.
Welcome to this program. My name is Alex Crenshaw, and we'll continue with the amazing topic of sacred geometry and the meaning of geometrical figures. And I want to start off with a quote from Master Omraam from this book, In Spirit and Truth, that goes to the essence of this important topic for our evolution. It goes like this. A child needs to be told stories and shown pictures or objects in order to understand something. Where religion is concerned, most human beings are still children. They need external, concrete, tangible things to hang on to. Imagine if one day the faithful of the world's religions were told, from now on, there will be no more places of worship, no more ceremonies, no more clergy, statues, or holy images, no more external material props. The time has come to worship God in spirit and in truth. They would feel utterly lost, as though they were in a vacuum. Only exceptionally evolved beings are able to find within their own soul and spirit the sanctuary in which they can communicate with the Lord, in which they can touch and taste and breathe the splendors of heaven. Of course, such an expression of consciousness is highly desirable. Those who achieve it are free from all limitations, for the world of the soul and spirit is vaster and more beautiful than any other. In that world, they are free to work without restrictions to build a future for themselves as sons and daughters of God. Well, this quote goes to the essence, as I mentioned before, of the importance of sacred geometry. A way to prepare our mind for this higher state of consciousness is through symbolic images. As this quote from Master Omraam, people get attached to images, and that can become a hindrance, because at the essence, everything is energy. In the highest state of consciousness, there are no images. For example, in the Zen tradition, there is a story of a teaching from a Zen master that goes like this. If you see the Buddha, kill the Buddha. People that do not understand Zen think that Zen is very aggressive. But in reality, at that time, in the context of history, people were attached to the image of the Buddha. And that became a hindrance. Zen masters were aware of this problem, and they used this quote to awaken people. Well, this is the same with sacred geometry. As we know, you study history, people even kill because of images. My religion is better than yours, because they get attached to images. The advantage of sacred geometry, you will go beyond any image, any attachment. And that's one of the goals. You will reprogram the subconscious, and it's going to help you to attain higher state of consciousness, as Master Omraam mentioned in the quote. The other important part that we'll cover in this second part is that Sacred geometry will prepare your mind when you go to the astral realm. We go there every night in dreams, and we cover that in other topics. But sacred geometry will prepare your mind when you transition to the other side. And it's going to help you to decrease the confusion that humans have when they go to the other side. So sacred geometry will prepare your mind for that moment. So it's a very important topic. And in the next section, we will explain the importance of the Trinity of wisdom, love, and power using the triangle. Thank you, and I hope to see you there. Welcome to this presentation, Sacred Geometry Portal to the Cosmos, the symbolic language of geometrical figures, part number 2. I want to start with this quote from Plato, who was an initiate. Plato referred to sacred geometry and as the language of the soul. It's truly one way we communicate with others through sacred geometry, and it's a very precise language of communication. One of the tasks or goals of the initiates is very precise in the use of language, because we create our own reality with our language. So an initiate is very careful the way he or she speaks. He or she deliberately chooses the words that are communicated to others. Now let's start with definition. The word geometry literally means measurement of the earth. The sacred part refers to the fact that we find the same geometric proportions, ratios, and measurements everywhere in creation, whether in organic life, music, language, art, or even the cosmos itself. There's a lot here in this definition because it's sacred, because we find sacred geometry in everywhere, starting with our own body. Our body is a sacred geometry. Da Vinci revealed that in the Vitruvian Man. Why we have 5 fingers? What is behind that? What is the intelligence behind that? In music, as we mentioned before, in one of the pieces of Haydn, they did a test and they found the pentagram. It was created playing one of his pieces of music. So it's sacred geometry because it's everywhere, especially in the cosmos. Watch the stars at night. That's a sacred geometry. So inspiring. As a reminder, all the quotes from the presentation are based on this book by Master Omraam Mikhaël Aïvanhov. And I want to remind you that part 1 of this presentation is in episode number 9. So if you want to go back to the basics, please watch this presentation from the last season of Mountains Media. We will introduce the triangle, how we express many truths with the triangle. And as we can see here in the image, we have 3 kinds, but everyone presents a different meaning. And that's what we will explore in this presentation. The triangle can be said to represent the union of the masculine and feminine principles, which gives birth to a third principle. As we know, in the universe, we are subject to duality. In this dimension, we have male, female, hot, cold, up, down. But the combination of these two principles gives birth to a third principle: father, mother, child, mind, heart, will, thought, feeling, action, wisdom, love, and truth. And at the same time, if we go deeper in this application of this principle, we want to always have a balance among the three principles. For example, father, mother, child. It needs to be a balance among the three principles. If a child does not respect the parents or is given a lot of power, it's going to become disrespectful. We see this in society. Some of us have been affected by this problem. One of the siblings lacks discipline or realize that it can have more control over the father and the mother. And it becomes a problem. As we will see, it needs to be in balance also between the mind, the heart, and the will. If the heart has more emphasis over the mind and the will, there's an imbalance. People become weak. You are too compassionate, and people will take advantage of you. Also, thought, feeling, and action is another representation of mind, heart, and will. So it's also important to keep a balance. Same with wisdom, love, and truth. It says that a person that has too much wisdom but it doesn't love or there is no truth is too cold. Or a person that is pure love, there is not wisdom or truth, cannot discern. And that's when people get into troubles. A person that emphasizes truth becomes self-righteous and believes that he or she is always right and the others are wrong because it's my truth and that's the only one. Only the equilateral triangle conveys an impression of perfect harmony. No side has developed to the detriment of the others. The previous explanation that I gave, now we can see it visually here. The equilateral triangle has the three sides in a balance. When one is bigger than the other, or there is no proportion, that's normally when there are problems in life. Or maybe sometimes it is necessary to have this imbalance, but in the long term, it can create problems. So it's very important to keep this in mind, to always maintain a balance. And it takes practice, and Master Omraam left in many of his books instructions or guidelines how to achieve this balance, how to reach equanimity, how to maintain the proper balance among the forces that we are influenced and we also emit these forces. And it is an art, really. It takes years of practice. It takes learning wisdom, how life works at the personal level, with our families, at work, and society at large. If you study societies, you will see where when there's always a problem is because there's an imbalance, basically. So it helps to have a figure here that tells us, okay, what is the imbalance? And we can see here the true Trinity, according to Master Omraam. We have power, love, and wisdom. We human beings are very powerful beings. One of the goals of initiatic science is to first recognize this power and use it in the right way, with love and wisdom. And as we can see here, there's a balance between among the three forces, because this is force. Love is a force. Wisdom is a force. Power is a force. And it's a trinity. And it gives you a stability. That is the reason since ancient times, the triangle is used as a symbol of stability. It's a perfect triangle. The true trinity as human expression. How do we express? We go back to the previous slide. How do we express power, love, and wisdom? Well, we do it through action. That's power. Love through feeling, and wisdom through thinking. That's how we humans express these attributes. For example, in nature, we go back here. In nature, we also see power, love, and wisdom. And we see the beauty of nature. That's love. And it has a wisdom. That is the reason Master Omraam, he also emphasized that we need to learn from nature. It's one of the greatest teachers for humans. At the same time, we need to respect nature. We have many problems because we do not respect nature, especially with increasing technology. We're getting very individualistic to technology. It's very important to maintain this balance and never forget that one of the best teachers is nature. So we humans also embody this as an action, feeling and thinking. Any action that you do, what is the thinking behind it? What is the feeling behind it? When we go to feeling, what is the thinking? Are you combining that with thinking and action, especially when you get into a relationship? Are you doing it in a balanced way with another human being? When you take a decision with the family, how do you do it? Master Omraam compares the triangle and the sun. We explored the principle of the sun in the previous program. But Master gives an analogy of the sun and the triangle. They are related. The sun is the most perfect symbol of the blessed Trinity. We have here an example of impartiality, of pure love, of neutrality. The sun does not discriminate to whom it's sending light. Even if that person did something wrong. I remember when I used to teach at the prison, well, there were criminals there and the sun was shining no matter what they did. What is the wisdom behind? What the sun says, doesn't say, I am not shining on you because you did this and that, or you did this to that person. No, it shines on every human being, without exception. One of the most ancient geometries that it has a lot of meaning. And Master Omraam gave us a great interpretation about this geometry. First, as we can see here, it has 6 sides, or the hexagon. The number 6 in sacred geometry and numerology is very important. For example, maybe you have heard about a structured water. And a structured water, when you see an representation in symbols, it has 6 sides. And As we saw in the previous presentation on episode number 9, the water, when it has a perfect balance, it creates an hexagon. It's amazing. And how humans knew about this, about the importance of the number 6. Well, it's important because it's in nature. It's everywhere. If we divide Solomon's shield, the triangles, we have the masculine principle, a downward triangle, and the feminine principle, an upward triangle. And in the previous section, we analyzed the triangle, and it has 3 equal sides. Equilateral triangle, which, and again, it is the importance of balance. The feminine principle, matter, is drawn towards heaven, towards the spirit. It waits for the spirit to come and fertilize it and give it life. Well, we can see this in many ways in nature. In a human being, the woman gets fertilized and produces an egg that becomes the fetus, and we have a human being. That's one representation. The masculine principle. The masculine principle points downwards. It descends into matter in order to share with all that it possesses. So we can see here male energy, the masculine principle, and one representation is the sun. The energy of the sun comes down and shares with every being on the planet is warm, it's light. Now, we will see next that the sun includes the 2 principles. For example, in this image, Master Omraam tells us, in every area of life, the intelligence of nature offers human beings lessons that reveal its secrets and its way of thinking. Master Omraam places a strong emphasis on respecting nature, reading the sacred book of nature, and initiatic science is based on that. Many teachings of initiatic science come from nature. So it's a very important practice to be close to nature, to observe. As we can see here in the image, the energy of the sun is represented with a triangle pointing downwards. The energy comes down. And we see at the bottom of the image the trees. The trees are reaching up because they are reaching to the energy of the sun. You see on nature, they want to be fertilized by the sun, by the energy of the sun. And this applies everywhere in nature. For example, when bees go through every tree, they are fertilizing. They are coming down, and the plants are receiving, and the flowers are receiving the pollination of the bees. It's very important to keep this in mind whenever we create something. And obviously, as all you know, Master Omraam was known as a solar teacher because he reminds us again and again, you need to model your life as the sun is the perfect teacher, is the perfect model for our life. And this is an example. When we give warmth, when we become an example to others, other people will look at us without us trying to get their attention. That is the ideal teacher. When you are an example and you give light without taking credit for it. It's a very ancient teaching. But instead of deciphering, understanding, and marveling at its secrets, people go on behaving unconsciously. Well, this is one of the goals of initiatic science, is to remind human beings to go back to nature, to look inside, to have reverence towards these profound teachings. As we can see here in the image, people normally are distracted now with technology. There is nothing wrong with technology, but we need to be aware, we need to reach a balance. The reason we have so many problems in society is because we are out of balance. And here a key word on this phrase, deciphering. Sacred geometry is one of the goals is to open the ciphers of the brain. Ciphers we normally relate to numbers, but no, ciphers are codes that are dormant in the brain or in the mind or in the consciousness that can be opened through images. And nature is a great example, or through sacred geometry. So we need to prepare the mind to decipher and to understand and to marvel at nature, at these teachings of initiatic science. How we can use them to evolve, to improve our lives, and to contribute to others. And they are everywhere. Many companies know about the power of symbols, and they use this information on their marketing campaigns, but to their advantage, not to yours. It's a way to control because, as you are aware, the mind processes information through images. It's very important to keep this in mind always. So we have a great teaching around us every time. A human being is a sacred geometry, it's a symbol. How do you use this sacred geometry? With your hands. What kind of gestures do you do with your hands? What kind of geometry do you show to others with your hands? It's important to keep this in mind. Solomon's seal is the symbol of those who have developed to the fullest the two principles, masculine and feminine, emissive and receptive, in their own being. Well, this is one of the goals of the Solomon symbol, to remind you to balance the masculine and feminine principle. Both male and female contain both in their essence. For example, in the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tse mentions that. In essence, we have the feminine principles in our being, even man. And it's important to contact through practices like introspection these feminine aspects, because the reason we have problems when there's an imbalance, when there is no enough energy to balance the masculine and feminine. Many of the practice of Master Omraam is to balance the masculine and feminine energy in a human being, like the gymnastics exercise, panrhythmic. These are examples or practices to balance the masculine and feminine energy. And this is the ideal human being that does not go to extremes, balancing the feminine and masculine. There's a balance. It's so important to keep this balance always. Master Omraam gave us a lot of teaching to always try to keep this balance in check, through meditation, to prayers, to witnessing nature. I want to give you examples of the true balance between the masculine and feminine principles. A dear friend of mine gave me this as a gift. This is Isis, a great initiate. And we can see here the wings and the female aspects. And what I like from this image of Isis is that it represents the balance between the feminine and the masculine. It has the wings here as kind of firmness, gentleness with power. And she does not lose her feminine side, does not go to extremes, but it shows this strength, this masculine aspect that we all have, male and female. And I like this because this is a perfect balance between the two, right? Strength, defending the truth, but without going to the extremes of that is happening now. Sadly, that we see on the media, they are taking, especially women, I want to mention that, they are making the woman more aggressive with guns, even saying bad words. I have seen that in movies. And that is not reality. That is manipulation. That is a misguided representation of woman. For me, that is losing the dignity of a woman when they go to the extremes. We see now with weapons, being aggressive in movies. That is just marketing and manipulation and really distorting the real sacred feminine. Now, I'd like to show you another image about the feminine and masculine imbalance through art, another art. This is a famous painting about the queen with the knight, and is giving this recognition to the knight. And there are many interpretations of this art. It's very nice, it's very inspiring. But we can see here, this is the masculine, the knight, respecting the feminine part. I mean, he's aware that we can say this is an initiate that is respecting and honoring the feminine aspect. And he's telling us that he's aware of the importance of the feminine, even going to war. And remember, it's not an external war, it's an internal war. That is the most important war or battle that we need to engage in, the internal war for our freedom. So this is an example. And the other side for the feminine aspect for the queen is that she's aware also of the importance of the masculine aspect for the advancement, for her own advancement as a woman, that she needs the masculine energy, in this case as a knight, as a warrior, to defend justice. And it's very inspiring to see this in a way, because it tells us the importance of both principles, that we need to keep them in balance. And I like about the knight, the warrior here, that is kneeling down for the importance of gentleness, what is called fierce gentleness, how we can do good on the planet, bring justice, but without going to extremes. It's happening now that we see a lot of extremes in violence. It's not necessary if you know how to apply the teachings. In the next section, we will explore the pyramid. We will continue with one of the most interesting sacred geometries, the pyramid. And as we can see here on the image, it also shows the cube at the bottom. Master Omraam went to that detail in the explanation of the pyramid in combination with the cube. Let's start with a quote from Master Omraam. You cannot understand the structure of human beings unless you understand the structure of the universe. We are cosmic beings, and as above, so below. And most of the teachings of Master Omraam gave us a map, this blueprint, to understand the universe, because in order to understand the complexity of the human being, we need to understand the universe. We have books about astrology, about nature, because we humans are influenced very strongly by the planets, by the celestial bodies. So the more we have an understanding of the universe, how it works, our influence, as you know, every organ of the human body resonates with planets. And now this has been confirmed by science, that the planets emit a sound that resonates with certain organs of the human body. So as you can see, we are walking antennas. And the more information we have about the universe and the influence on our bodies, the better. And it's going to help you to improve our lives, address challenges that happens. Life without challenges is not life. That's how we grow. This is called school earth, because we are here to learn lessons and to overcome them. So the more we have a map of the universe, the better. And sacred geometry is a representation of the universe. In one of the books of Master Omraam, he shows that the letters of the Kabbalah are coming from the constellations of the stars, cosmic letters. As long as we restrict ourselves to the lowest level, the level of facts and events, we can never hope to have a clear view of reality or to be in control of the situation. Well, normally we humans are limited by our senses. And we believe that our problems are only based on what we can perceive with the five senses. But this is far from the truth. As we saw in the first season and in other programs, if you remember the geometry of the six bodies, and the physical body is the lowest one. We have six bodies. 5 of them are not visible to the eyes, but they do exist. So here the lesson here and the message is that we need to go beyond what we see with our eyes, what we perceive with our senses. We are deceived by the senses. That's one of the common sayings. And one of the Zen sayings says that listen with your eyes and see with your ears. That's another term, to go beyond. And sacred geometry is a tool that can help you to go beyond the senses to address problems in life, to have a higher vision. And that's one of the goals of the pyramid. That is the reason we have the base and we have the 4 sides of the pyramid. Because we need to see problems from different angles. And for example, the other day I was studying the tool of lateral thinking, how we can solve problems or challenges in life with a horizontal view instead of a vertical. We normally solve problems with a vertical view. But we need to expand our vision, and that is going to help you to solve problems. So most of the time, as we saw in the previous image, people are not conscious of nature, the influence it has in us, and it's a great teacher to solve problems when we align to this. The pyramid is a symbol of the hierarchy that exists in the universe. It is a symbol that can help us in absolutely every area of life to move out of the lower level of dispersion onto the highest planes of unity. Well, hear this quote from Master Omraam: absolutely every area of life. Now we can see the full geometry here, that underneath the pyramid we have a cube. And if we visualize the pyramids of Egypt, we can only see the surface, the pyramids, but underneath, we can assume, and that's the symbology, there is a cube, and that is the foundation. The message here is that in everything in life, we need to have a good foundation. For example, here applying this quote, every area of our life, when you enter into a relationship, we know that the foundation is key for a long-lasting and harmonious relationship. We all know that relationships have challenges. But if we enter into a relationship with another person, with a good foundation, the pyramid will be more stable, more solid. Otherwise, if the structure is not solid, the whole building will collapse, and that's what happened with relationships. Most of the time, people enter into a relationship based only on the five senses, only what we can see, what we perceive, especially with the eyes. We are controlled by the senses. But let's say that you enter into a new relationship, and let's say that the cube represents the hidden aspect of the other person, the psyche. So it's a good idea just to, when you enter into a new relationship, to start to ask questions that you can get a deeper insight about the person. And when you start a business, especially in a business, it's really important that you have a good foundation. You have the right knowledge. And here we can see that the pyramid, the structure of the pyramids, gives you access to every angle in life, to the four elements, to the four sides. And you take the decision from the apex, from the bottom, from the top of the pyramid. That's when you take a decision and you have a high view of every situation in life. Before drawing a final conclusion about something and deciding on a course of action, we must rise to the summit to get a clearer view. This is the main teaching here of the pyramid and the cube. Once we have all the knowledge, once we have a better view of life, then we are able to go to the top and from there decide. Do I quit my job? Do I move to a new city? Do I start a new relationship? And one of the goals, or one of the main goal of the teaching of Master Omraam is to give you all these tools to take good decisions in life. Because what is going to happen, and this is my experience, the deeper you go into this teaching, you will realize the gift and the privilege that we have humans to be on this planet, to realize our full potential. That's, in my opinion, one of the goals of the teaching of Master Omraam. He's giving you all the tools, first to solve all the problems in life. I remember in my first retreat, here in Mount Shasta, there was a big poster and a quote from Master Omraam: I give you tools, or my teaching solve any problem in life. And it's true. So once you have all these tools, you will feel more confident to go forward in life, to take risk. You need to take risks. It's part of life. It's important to take risks in life. And sacred geometry is a great tool that is going to open the ciphers in your brain to take better risk in life. The 4 represents matter, the number 3, the spirit. 4 plus 3 give us 7. And here on the left, we can see the triangle and the square. And on the right side, we see a human being. Now, the head is represented by the triangle. The number 3 is the spirit. Number 4 is matter. So 4 is the base, the body, and 3 is the triangle. People sometimes are too mental and they neglect the material aspects, or the other way around. People emphasize the material aspect and they neglect the spiritual or the mental. We need a balance. This is a representation of this. This is the meaning of this symbol. That we humans are a sacred geometry. And if you remember about the Vitruvian man from Da Vinci, he tried to convey the same in a most complex way. This symbol is very simple, but this gives you an idea of the square becomes the human body. We need a good foundation to take decisions. Since very basic, we need to have a health. Part of having a good health is nutrition. We have Rani Yoga, the yoga of nutrition that Master Omraam gave us. Because if you do not have a solid foundation, it's very difficult to take decisions because you cannot concentrate, you feel weak. And this symbology gives us that message that when we combine the matter, the number 4 plus the spirit, the number 3, give us the number 7. And here, the 4 represent matter and the 3 is the spirit. When you have an idea that is the number 3, but give it material reality and it becomes the 4, combined, they make 7, the symbol of perfected human beings. So that's one of the goals of this teaching, is how we can reach our own perfection in life. And how can we become a perfect geometry? How we can create a more harmonious life using this teaching, how to perfect our nature, how to become more responsible as humans. We have the tools. We can embody this perfection if we first have a knowledge of how life functions. And as we saw on one of the first images, that we normally take decisions based on what we see with our senses. But we need to go beyond that. We need to be more aware of their deeper aspects of reality. And the more you understand how this universe functions, the better. That's one of the goals of this teaching, to help us to have a more harmonious life and happiness. One of the books that we have is called Happiness. At the end, ask yourself, why I am doing this? Because I want to be happy in any area of our life. I want to thank you for watching this presentation of Sacred Geometry. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next presentation in the next season. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much, Alex, for such an inspiring and insightful talk. I now see more clearly how sacred geometry can deepen our understanding of the cosmos, and how, by working with these symbols, we can accelerate our own inner evolution. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to stay tuned for what's ahead. Coming up are Rolf Desiré sharing his perspective on astrology and the influence of Aquarius, Laura Uplinger on the joy of pregnancy eating, from cravings to conscious choices, Klaas Laan on psychology, Carl Jung and the teaching and approach to the unconscious, and to close the third series, we will hear a few heartfelt testimonials from brothers and sisters whose lives have been transformed by the teaching. See you in 2 weeks. Stay safe and stay connected.